Hi everybody, Rob and Kurt with Two Brothers Hobby. And in front of us in many, many pieces spread out on the bench, we have the new Thunder Tiger Titan, Mini Titan V2.
That's right.
Helicopter.
Yeah.
In many pieces.
In many pieces.
In many pieces. Kurt, give us a quick rundown of why you would want to jump into something so painstaking.
Well, there's a few more pieces of this one as well. This is the long kit, or the full kit, so you've got the ESC and a motor in it, but yeah, it's pretty much completely unassembled.
Yeah, I can see that. There's a lot of
This is what they call an ARF. This is a helicopter ARF.
Is that acronym stand for something different?
It should be ARB.
ARB.
Almost ready to build.
This is true.
Let's get started on all the details.
All right.
Well, there are a few recognizable things here, Rod. I think the skids, you recognize the skids.
Oh, yeah.
And the canopy. See, nice finished painted canopies all ready to go. I'd pull them out of the bag, so we don't want to get fingerprints and dirt and dust. And Rob likes to play with this stuff, run it like cars in the, well, anyway. With everything still bagged up. Yeah, moving on. Everything's still bagged up. There's a ton of pieces and parts to go over. We aren't going to cover it in a video. It just takes forever. And for people to understand helicopters or familiar with the parts, wouldn't be too exciting. But one of the features that's unique to the 325 V2 is it has adjustable bell header mixing arms. So you're able to choke up for more 3D setup or move out on a linkage for a novice helicopter pilot, Rob. So you could fly this.
If I graduated to that point?
You are. Well, we'll set up as a novice and you can fly it first.
Yeah.
Our tail boom assembly. Like I said, there's tons and tons of parts in here. A lot of these are real familiar when you start looking around. But when we look at the longer version of the kit, the full kit, we do have our ESC and our brushless Outrunner motor included in this kit. So it's going to save us some more piece part picking and setup and configuration. So we'll be running it very much spec. Another unique feature to the 325 V2 is the green lightweight, ultra lightweight flybar paddles, which give you really agile characteristics out of your head. So they've really built this model with sport agility in mind, or 3D agility in mind, taking the center of gravity and sucking it right towards the center of the rotor head. So you've got everything tightly compacted and close to the center, so we don't have things hanging way out there to slow down our response times. Twin carbon fiber main body assembly, main chassis assembly. And then everything else, it's an all-metal head assembly or setup. The nice thing, too, is it's all metal bearing holders. So this is literally a very rigid, very solid, very competition-grade helicopter right out of the bag. And then we have more parts, Rob. Look, they got some thread locker. You recognize that,
there you go.
Some thread locker. And
I see a gear.
I think there's a little ring, and it'll keep decoder ring in here. You just got to eat the bubble gum first. And then, of course, it ships with the carbon fiber main rotor blades. And pretty much everything, like I said, everything you'd want out of a competition 450 class helicopter arrangement.
Well, since I've been lost since hi, this is Rob and Kurt with Two Brothers Hobby. Why don't we move on
to
the
radio system? Yeah, there we go. And then here we have the finest fresh Cuban for your selection in such a nice presentation, a nice black box. Isn't that cool?
That is.
You go out and you buy a nice gyro and you just want to have, it's got to look good. Yeah, it's got to look good. We'll be using a GY 520 gyro on this particular setup, which would be more than ample for our 325 Mini Titan. It's just so small, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Over the years, they've gotten so tiny.
Yep.
And that's our 520 headlock gyro we'll be using. And this is S-Bus compatible as well. So if we wanted to install S-Bus, which we're not going to, we would have a gyro that would function. We'll also be using the CIU2 USB interface to program our GY 520. So we'll kind of go through that setup as well. Using our 617FS receiver from Futaba, which is more than ample, 8 channel receiver. We're going to be flying the whole thing with a 2200 milliamp Flight Power Pro 50. So this has 50C discharge rates. The nice thing too is you have 6C charge rates. So we can really get the thing back up in the air very quickly. Tail rotors need fast servos. So we're going to be using the BLS 257 high-speed servo. This is a 0.07 millisecond transit across 60 degrees at 4.8 volts. So this is a very fast servo. It should really bring that tail to life. And then we're using S315 or 3156 servos, excuse me, on the rest of the helicopter, which is a nice higher speed digital servo. But you know, it's nothing compared to that tail rotor servo. These are about double the speed. Yeah. But and then of course going back to the head end, and the master, the brains behind the entire operation will be our T8FG with the new firmware update, making this a virtual 14-channel radio. But it gives us some nice swash setup and mixing capabilities with the new firmware update. And that pretty much rounds out our radio system. Now it's time to put it all together.
Yeah.
So.
Realistically, Kurt, what are you looking at here?
Well, it's hard to say.
I mean, you've got experience putting one together, and me cut you off, but I've seen you build helicopters before. You've been doing it for several years. Obviously, somebody just getting into this, like myself, I would never build a kit like this to fly. It's way beyond my league. But if someone does have the skills but never put one together,
yeah, it's
what are we looking at?
There's really a couple of things to consider when you're putting together a kit, a full helicopter kit, a collective pitch helicopter, whether it be fly bar or fly barless. There's a lot of setup that goes on after the build.
Yeah.
The build itself, the best tip I can give you is pick up a digital caliper set, and have your digital calipers handy. Measure everything. Measure it twice. They're going to give you like linkage adjustments, how long the bar should be between the end of the linkage. And even though this is ECCPM, and it's going to use digital mixing, and you can adjust a lot of the offsets throughout the head, and a lot of the subtrims and stuff, you still want it to be as mechanically true as possible. And that's really, there's a couple key things to consider when you're building a kit, a helicopter kit. Always use your Loctite. Always use your thread locker. Yeah. Watch your torque. Don't crank things down too tight. Don't leave them too loose. Don't be sloppy with your Loctite. But make sure, or Loctite, I'm using a brand name, your thread locker, to make sure everything stays secure. The last thing you want is anything loosening up when you're flying. There's just so many rotating pieces and so many things that are moving in a helicopter. Take your time, follow the instructions very closely, measure all your linkage exactly as they state, and then beyond that, it's going to be the setup afterwards. If you get all the mechanical build done, which if you're mechanically inclined at all, if you've done kit builds, like you could sit down and build this kit. I have no doubts whatsoever you could sit down and build a kit like this. It's going to take. You're going to spend, if you do it in the evenings, like most people, they have maybe 2 hours in the evening after dinner or whatever. Plan on building this thing for about a week and a half. Yeah. A week and a half, 2 weeks by the time you get it all
you're probably looking realistically 20 hours plus.
For somebody that's never touched a kit before, yeah. For me, and again, I've built a lot of other kits. Some of them have some head assembly already done for you. They call those truly like ARFs. This is pretty much stripped. There's a couple things that are put together. I think the bearings are already put into the blade grips and stuff like that, but very minor assembly, it's already done. This is going to be this will be a solid price, 7-hour build for me.
This reminds us of our old RC car days, doesn't it?
Exactly, a pile of parts.
Yep.
Yeah, the only thing I was having was the plastic to rip out and
My problem was I'd always throw the directions away because I didn't need them.
Oh yeah, well then this you would, this is definitely not a Lego approach to, I've got the picture, let me go through and build it now. You're going to want to go through and follow these directions. And the directions are really thorough. They show absolutely every step in detail, so it's a commitment to sit down and build it. Then you've got the back end, which is the setup. And the setup piece is a different story altogether. You've got to understand your pitch curves. You've got to understand your throttle curves. You've got to go through and adjust your gyro rates, your gain settings in your gyro. And then you've got to do a lot of little tweaking and touching up to make sure the thing flies like you want it to. But it's going to require some tools, pitch gauges, things like that to be able to put it together. Yeah, I'll borrow your stuff. We'll just use your wing incident gauge as a pitch gauge and we'll be fine. So I guess the next step is build it. Take it out, fly it, and then come on back, and we'll put it through the review.
We'll see what kind of shape Kurt's in when it's all done.